ba ba da da ba ba shoo up ba 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 da da ba ba shoo up ba 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 da da ba. Whether you realize it or not, there is a marketplace out there, and when it comes to attraction and seducing the ladies, every man within this marketplace has a value. What you guys are about to learn are 4 seduction hacks that something like only 1% of men know, and these hacks are designed to increase your mate value, and with a higher mate value comes greater opportunities with females. Number 1, creating scarcity. One of the simplest ways to dramatically increase your own mate value is to simply change your location. This could mean moving to another state or country, or if you're younger and you don't have a lot of money, it could be as simple as meeting girls in places where the overall number of males is scarce when compared to the overall number of females. Now, the reason why all those reality shows where they put 20 guys on an island with one girl work so well is because when you have 20 men fighting over a single girl, you tend to get a lot of drama, which makes for great television. But at the end of the day, every man on that island is going to have a massive reduction in his mate value because there's only one female and there's 20 other males, and the same is true for pretty much any situation in real life. So when I was younger, I had several different friends that I hung out with regularly. And several of my friends were what you would call natural alpha males. And when we would meet up with girls, it would be so much harder for me to compete because I wasn't exactly a natural alpha male. So as a result, let's just say in these situations, I didn't always end up with the girl that I really liked. So life is all about knowing your strengths and knowing your weaknesses and playing the game so that you can maximize your strengths while minimizing your weaknesses. And one of the fastest and easiest ways to increase your mate value is to simply put yourself in situations where the girls outnumber the guys. To put yourself in situations where you have the edge compared to the male competition that is around you. An example of this could be going out with one of your bros and meeting up with a group of 4 girls. Anytime that you are in a situation where the females outnumber the males, as one of the only 2 males in the group, you end up becoming a scarce resource, and you'll find that girls are far more likely to compete for you. And as a result, your mate value or your seductiveness is automatically boosted just because of the situation that you are in. Now, on the flip side, if you were to be with a group of 20 guys and you're interacting with a group of only 3 girls, what's going to happen in that situation is that your mate value is actually going to be next to nothing unless you're extremely famous or you have some other overpowering compensating factor to make up for it. Number 2, become exotic. Most of you watching have probably heard of Ziz, or the famous YouTuber bodybuilder who is unfortunately no longer with us. And when combing over his past videos, it's easy to see that there are several things that this guy did to dramatically increase his mate value, or things that he did that made him exotic, so to speak. One of the simplest things that requires basically no effort and delivers an incredible boost in your overall mate value is to simply put yourself in places where you have an automatic advantage or where you are seen as exotic. Somebody like Aziz had a lot of success in his home country, but when he visited places like the United States, you can imagine that his mate value actually gained an enormous boost just because of the fact that Aussies are insanely rare here in the United States. And so it is that rarity that gave him such a huge boost without him doing pretty much anything except for existing. Now, we've all seen movies where American girls fall deeply in love with the guy with the British accent, even if the guy doesn't really have much else going for him. Now, one of the easiest and fastest ways to significantly boost your mate value without doing anything is just to meet girls in places where you would be considered exotic or where you would be considered rare. So for example, if you're American, you could meet girls in places like Australia or in places like China, where your ethnicity or your type is so scarce or so non-existent that it becomes insanely desirable. For example, white males tend to get a huge automatic boost in mate value when they are in Asian or even African countries. And even on a simpler level, a man who is, for example, really wealthy would get a huge boost in mate value while visiting an area where most people are poor. Pretty much any guy from Australia or even the United Kingdom who basically just has an accent will get an automatic boost in value around pretty much any girl in America because of this so-called exotic effect, or what some people would call the foreigner effect. The same would be true if you were to take an American man and place him in the United Kingdom, where pretty much everybody has one accent, whereas the American has his own unique accent. Becoming exotic is really about standing out from the competition, and the more that you are able to do this, the larger the boost that you will receive to your overall mate value. One of the fastest and the simplest ways to become exotic without really any effort is just to meet girls in locations where you are different from all of the other males around you, which affords you a really distinct advantage, therefore gaining you a huge boost in your overall value. Number 3, know your game. Oftentimes, guys approach girls with the mindset of not really knowing what they want. And you see, most guys inherently know that they definitely want the one thing that all of us guys ultimately want from girls, but they just don't know whether they are playing the long or whether they're playing the short game. What you guys have to understand is that there are 2 different mating strategies used by men and women, and one of these is short-term, such as just for the night, and one of them is long-term, such as wanting a girlfriend or a boyfriend. And the key thing to understand is that knowing your game plan or deciding right from the start what you are looking for, whether it's short-term or long-term, can actually dramatically boost your overall mate value. So for example, if your game plan is short-term, then displaying qualities around girls that would make them see you more as a long-term partner than a short-term partner, this would actually hurt your mate value or subtract from it. And so knowing the end goal or what it is that you are really looking for can give you a huge value boost because it will make it easier for you to naturally behave in ways that are optimal for your game plan. And the overall net result of this is that you will become more seductive, you will become more attractive. You see, not knowing your game plan from the start is kind of like a fighter entering a fight with the mindset of just knowing that he wants to fight instead of entering with the plan of knocking his opponent out or getting him onto the ground so he can use his ground game. Knowing whether you are looking for a short-term or long-term thing right from the start, or knowing what your game plan is, can give you a pretty significant boost to your overall mate value because it will allow you to act in ways that will maximize what you are trying to do. If you don't know your value, then how can you ever expect to boost it? Now, for a typical man, our mate value is influenced heavily by our social status, our looks, our resources, and our personality in no particular order. And unfortunately, many guys are born with a poor hand when it comes to physical looks, so to make up for this and to boost their overall mate value, they try to acquire things like status and things like resources. And the ability to dramatically boost your mate value is actually one of the greatest advantages that we as men have because females cannot do this. You see, the mate value of females is largely decided at birth based on their physical beauty because this is what 99% of men in the dating marketplace put the greatest value on. And so one of the most powerful seduction hacks that a man can use to increase his mate value rather quickly is to simply improve the areas where he is lacking the most. So if you're currently working at Taco Bell making minimum wage, spend your spare time figuring out how to build income streams that will get you into the 6-figure club. So knowing your current value or knowing what areas you are good in and what areas you are lacking in is super, super important for making the changes that you need to make to give your overall value a huge boost. Now, I'll end this by saying that many of the best seduction hacks are all about taking what you already have and simply maximizing it. So if you have great social skills, but you have no money, it would be better to try to meet girls in places or in cultures where money is less important and where social skills are seen as more valuable. And understanding male competition is also super important for hacking your mate value because more often than not, what guys are out there doing is they're trying to compete in the wrong areas. So for example, if you're not a natural alpha male, avoid trying to compete for girls in situations where you are going to be pitted up against a bunch of natural alpha males. Now, some of the best seduction hacks for increasing your mate value are all about knowing what your value is or knowing your strengths and knowing your weaknesses, and then choosing to strategically compete in locations or situations where you are the one who has the edge rather than your competition. Because if you don't have an edge when it comes to seduction or when it comes to attraction, all you're really doing is playing against the house, and in case you guys didn't know, the house always wins. If you guys are into all things money related, be sure to check out my other channel, Money Secrets. The link is in the description. And with that said, you guys are the best, and thank you so much for watching.